Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb online, and today I'm gonna continue the story What If Naruto Conquered the Elemental Nations Part 2. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Konoha spent the next week recovering from an attack by allied forces led by the now dead Orochimaru of the Sannin, who killed the Kazekage in order to impersonate him and trick Konoha's ally into attacking. Now that things were starting to fall into place, negations were being made with Sabaku no Kankuro, while Jiraiya spent his time with Gaara fixing his seal so the boy could be more stable and finally sleep. There were those in Konoha who were opposed to the new alliance treaty between the two villages, believing that Suna should make reparations at a high cost. Jiraiya, who had been acting as temporary Gondame Hokage due to the Sandame's injuries, and his sensei's apparent declining health all contributed to the peace. Kankuro had explained to Jiraiya why Suna did what they did, because the Wind Daimyo was draining them dry and would not change his mind about giving missions to Konoha over Suna. Orochimaru had spoken into the Kazekige's ear with honey-filled words about making Suna great again and how using Gaara in the process would make the village grand like it had been in the past. Jiraiya could comprehend. He'd also been poring over the Sandame's papers, discovering that the Kazekage had asked the Hokage to intervene on his behalf to prevent the Wind Daimyo from annihilating his village. The Sandame, on the other hand, had apparently ignored the Kazekige's pleas by ignoring the message and not sending any message to the feudal Lord of Wind. Jiraiya realized his sensei saw Suna getting stronger with Gaara as their Jinchuriki, who was getting stronger with each passing year and using the one power tails while Naruto couldn't tap into it at all due to their seals being completely different. And the Hokage had taken the route of weakening Suna to compensate. That one side needed the other to survive, but Orochimaru had offered to help Suna and tip the balance of power in favor of the Kazekage. Everything else the Kazekage did was to ensure that things remained in Suna's favor for a long time, regardless of how they were accomplished. Despite the fact that Naruto had thrown a monkey wrench into the entire plan by killing Orochimaru upon his arrival at the Chunin exam finals. After the Kazekige's siblings were imprisoned, Naruto paid them a visit before the Toad Sannin spoke to any of them, though Jiraiya had no idea what they talked about because the guards watching them were on the ground with broken bones in various places and were too in pain to pay attention. Whatever they discussed, it had Kankuro moving to begin negotiations right away, and Temari blushing after Naruto left with a smirk on his face. "Temari-chan, I'll see you in a few years. I'm excited for our eventual date and that's something." He only said those words to the eldest of the Suna siblings before leaving them to talk amongst themselves. Speaking of Naruto, the Toad Sannin was dissatisfied with how the boy was treated in Konoha after discovering it through his own snooping, and the records he obtained to prove the abuse was true. It made the Sannin's blood boil, and he cursed his sensei for bowing to the council's whims along with this elder god Raiden. Jiraiya didn't understand the entire story, but it proved to him that the child of prophecy was most likely Naruto, and that the boy was out to destroy the shinobi way rather than save it. If Jiraiya had been able to raise the child as he had hoped, the Sannin would have tried to persuade him to save the world from destruction and bring about everlasting peace. Unfortunately, the old adage "there can be no peace without war" popped into his head, and it seemed to be in Naruto's as well. The boy now walked, and fought like a warlord attempting to carve his name into the world, to build an empire on the bodies of his long-dead enemies. "What happened to you, Naruto?" Jiraiya pondered, unsure how he could make things right for his godson. Jiraiya couldn't be the permanent Hokage because of his responsibilities to his godson, not to mention his spy network, which required him to travel and meet with his contacts. He dared not return the position of Hokage to the Sandame because his sensei no longer had the strength for it, as he discovered when visiting the man in the hospital. The once great kami of shinobi looked old, his face showed it, and the man's eyes looked tired from the job's demands. And Jiraiya could only feel sorry for him. The Sandame had told him everything concerning his actions against Naruto, regarding the elder god Raiden's visit, informing the Hokage of the boy's potential, and the threat he posed to the world if he was discovered. The fact that Naruto was the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi made it even more important that the last Uzumaki and possibly the entire known world be kept on a tightly collared leash that they could yank hard when necessary. With this child of prophecy wielding so much power, the lives of Konoha and the entire world were at stake. Jiraiya's life does not outweigh the village or the world's. You will realize this sooner or later. That's what Sandame told him in the hospital. Jiraiya responded by calling him and this elder god fools for causing this situation, with Naruto resenting Konoha to occur. that the boy chose to use his power against the leaf rather than for it when given the choice, and that the only reason Naruto was still in Konoha was to make the village the heart of something greater. Jiraiya didn't know or understand why, thanks to a certain retired again Hokage keeping the Sannin away from Naruto. At this point, it would have been more merciful to let Orochimaru kill their former sensei, and Jiraiya was confident Hiruzen would agree. Naruto was not surprised to find his apartment building destroyed, and he was even less surprised to see that it had been done by the people of Konoha rather than its very enemies who had invaded not long ago. The crowd of civilians and some of Konoha's shinobi were all cheering at the destruction of the demon's lair, with him now homeless like some of them. Many expected the boy to weep, cry, and wallow in despair over the loss of his home, with Naruto's only option being to sleep in the alleyways, to beg someone to let him stay the night. And even if they did, the cost would make hotels look cheap in comparison. However, due to their short-term memories failing, this was not the Uzumaki Naruto they remembered. And even if he was the Naruto they supposedly knew, he would rather sleep in the alleyway than sleep one day in their houses for a hefty financial fee he most likely couldn't afford. When Naruto appeared, they all smirked and mocked him about the loss of his home. He retaliated by leaving those responsible either dead or severely injured, as if death had claimed them. Some shinobi arrived on the scene, demanding that he surrender for the people's attack, and there were shinobi lying on the ground around them. With the squad in front of him hesitant to engage in battle, Naruto simply made a come-get-me hand motion, which made the son of the Yondaime laugh at their cowardice before leaving them to collect those who were still barely alive. So, where had he gone? Well, yes, fuck me Naruto-kun, yelled Anko as she was being plowed from behind by the Uzumaki in her own neighborhood. Yes, that's correct. Mitarashi Anko was being fucked by Naruto. What caused this to happen? The special Jounin had been so relieved to be free of Orochimaru's control after Naruto killed him. The curse seals on all his victims, including one Uchiha Sasuke despite his desire for it to remain, and all thanks to Naruto. As if that wasn't enough, Anko practically creamed her pants when she found out how the Sannin died when Naruto ripped out his soul and devoured it into his body. Anko offered Naruto a place to crash after he lost his place to live due to the ingrates of Konoha he had saved, only to maim them for their stupid actions against him, and with no financial fee attached. Just the sexual kind, and Naruto rewarded her handsomely for it. His time in Outworld had allowed the young shinobi turned future warlord of Earthrealm to enjoy the pleasures of the flesh from Shao Kahn's palaces, slave girls, and female servants. His union with Kyuubi had awakened all sorts of desires, memories of times before being sealed away ages ago when the fox would take a human form to rut with a woman, knowing which spots to hit for a woman to scream in pleasure. From his many nights with them, he had made many beautiful women in Outworld yearn for his touch. That's it, Anko-chan. Moan for me. Cry for more. Tell me how much you want it, said Naruto, thrusting harder and faster as the special Jounin's eyes returned to her head. Aikwotem coming. Aikwotem fucking coming, screamed Anko as she cried out and slammed into Naruto before collapsing on the barely holding bed. That will take several days of doing this for hours on end each time. At this rate, you're going to need a new bed, Naruto said, while Anko agreed with a moan sound from her throat. Well worth it, Anko said, breathing heavily and looking back at him before rolling over on top of him. Agreed, Naruto said as she rested her sweaty body against his. There's another reason behind our agreement to stay here, Anko explained as she noticed Naruto raise an eyebrow at her. Really? Said Naruto, seeing Anko nod with a surprisingly calm and serious expression. It's just, I've hated Orochimaru my entire life, ever since he dropped me like a sack of shit on Konoha's doorsteps with no solid memories of how it happened. I tried to prove I was loyal to the Leaf, that I wasn't him, that I wasn't some kind of sleeper agent intent on destroying the village like he wanted to since the event that caused him to flee. Why didn't you run away? Inquired Naruto as Anko kissed his muscled upper torso. Where could I go? I had nothing but the clothes on my back, and I was so strapped for cash that the only way to escape would be to whore myself out to anyone willing to pay. I was too young for that anyway, and I wasn't going to start making their names for me become true. Yeah, I'm bloodthirsty, violent, and sadistic in my job. So what? I'm a shinobi. It's in the job description, and one of the specific profession. That doesn't explain your other reason for this arrangement of yours, Naruto chuckled, and Anko sheepishly grinned. Sorry, the other reason I mentioned is because I want to express my gratitude for killing Orochimaru. I had wished for him to die in agony for what he did to me, Anko said as she noticed him smirk at her. Well, there is nothing more painful than having your soul ripped out, Naruto said, looking at Anko, who was sitting up completely and straddling his hips. I believe you. I swore to myself that I would be the fuck toy, slut, concubine, whatever you want to call me and all but name to the person capable of killing him, and do whatever you ask of them. I believe you. I swore to myself that I would be the fuck toy, slut, concubine, whatever you want to call me and all but name to the person capable of killing him, and do whatever you ask. You really want Myrant, don't you, Anko-chan? Naruto asked as he groped both of her breasts, enjoying the way the woman moaned under his touch. You've been so generous already, is it too much to ask for a little bit more? Anko asked, her face innocent but far from innocent. Not at all, though you will be. Flush for a while, Naruto said, as Anko slowly rode him while moaning. I like the sound of that, Anko said, grinning as she moved faster, Naruto still groping her breasts for more pleasure. She might get used to it. Naruto walked into the meeting room with purpose, as Jiraiya wanted to speak with him about what happened in the month leading up to the Chunin exams, as well as what he had done during all of the fighting. The only reason he agreed to this meeting with Jiraiya was because he was the acting temporary Hokage at the time, and the councils and clan heads were also looking for answers to their questions. What irritated him was the councils bitching, complaining, and generally being their usual selves when it came to his personal life. They'll probably bitch about what I did to Sasuke and demand I hand over my power to the jerk. Not to mention Kakashi will want to comment on my actions, and I doubt being promoted to Chunin is in the cards right now. Not that I care, because Shao Kahn's training and battles in his arena have made me stronger than most of the shinobi in this village. Damn, is it just me, or does Shiva look sexy in that one-piece bikini? With a smirk on his face, thought Naruto, shaking those thoughts away and deciding to focus on the task at hand with this meeting. Welcome to the meeting, Naruto, Jiraiya said as those on the council scowled or sneered and the clan heads looked at him respectfully. Given his recent actions, Naruto felt it was about damn time. You asked me to come here for this meeting, Naruto asked, crossing his arms in front of him. Commanded, exclaimed Danzo, stomping his cane once to emphasize the word. I don't take orders from you, old fool, so why am I here? Said Naruto, glaring at Danzo for his disrespect. You've come because we simply want to know what happened in the month leading up to the Chunin exams, Jiraiya asked, motioning Danzo and the councils to keep quiet. If you must know, I was with my forefather in the realm known as Outworld, which is ruled by the Emperor Shao Kahn, and he was teacher during my stay in his palace, Naruto simply stated as the councils yelled at him for lying about such nonsense. Silence. Naruto, please continue, Jiraiya said as Naruto smirked at everyone. After the Chunin exam prelims ended, I sought out Hade Kakashi at the hospital to train me in order to fight Neji in the finals, but the bastard thought I was without talent, and that losing would stain his reputation. If anything, his reputation was stained the very moment he began showing favoritism to the Uchiha and training the prick without considering his other students, Naruto said, with the councils once again up in arms about him. And, regardless of whether it is correct, that still doesn't explain your sudden growth, new powers, and everything else you did during the invasion, Hamura said, while Naruto laughed. You say I don't have any manners, but your own actions would be considered rude to others, and people would think of you the same way you think of me. Not that it matters. As we argued, I left Kakashi to pamper the Uchiha, and was then ambushed by a bunch of Konoha shinobi wanting to ensure I never made it to the Chunin exam finals. They even mentioned something about getting me killed. Heads will roll in my house if the elders decide to do anything, Hayashi thought, knowing that his own investigation would be required to clear his clan of this entire mess. The next thing I knew, I was in Outworld recovering from my injuries, which, according to what I learned, weren't healing from using Kyuubi's chakra since Orochimaru cut off the tap when I fought him in the Forest of Death. After Shao Kahn told me where I was, he wanted to train me for the Chunin exams, and it was then I was told of our bloodline connection, said Naruto, seeing many go pale because they thought the boy they hate. Bloodline connection? Shikaku asked, now paying attention and looking wide awake for the first time. Yes, it appears the Sage of Six Paths was in fact his son, taken straight to Earthrealm after his birth by the Thunder God Raiden to be its protector from his vassire should the Emperor wish to invade the realm, meaning that I am the long-line descendant of the Sage of Six Paths and Emperor Shao Kahn of Outworld, Naruto said, seeing jaws drop and back stiff in fear. And rightfully so, given everything that has occurred. So you're saying you have royal blood in your veins? Hayashi asked, with Naruto simply nodding yes. I will not believe such a claim. There is no way the Kyuubi Jinchuriki is of royal blood. He is trash, exclaimed a civilian council member. I am an emperor's legacy. Whether or not a weak fool like yourself believes it is true is unimportant to me, Naruto said, seeing the councilman's face turn red with rage. Jiraiya, you should check the seal to make sure Kyuubi isn't influencing him. His power is unnatural, Koharu said as Naruto laughed loudly. Kurama, or Kyuubi, is no longer sealed within me. We merged together during my time in Outworld thanks to the Emperor's powers, Naruto explained, prompting the councils to yell at Jiraiya to kill or subdue him for becoming the demon they all despised. He's a demon. Kill him, yelled a member of the civilian council, pointing to Naruto. Hold him accountable for crimes against Konoha and the Uchiha, exclaimed another. Enough. What is it with you people and your lack of intelligence? The Sandaime may have bowed to your whims in keeping the boy's potential locked away, but I won't be your puppet. And I'm damn going to make sure Naruto isn't either, said Jiraiya, while Naruto smirked even more because he could kill these fools right now but couldn't because the time wasn't right and he needed to be patient. But, Jiraiya-sama, this demonic abomination is a threat to all of Konoha. Our very way of life is at stake, exclaimed Himura as the Sannin scowled at him and noticed Danzo staring at Naruto with a calculating eye. My gaze has no impact on him. Oh no. Danzo wondered how that was possible given his harvested sharing an eye behind his bandage had the ability to influence others. You mean he's a threat to all of you, said Jiraiya, seeing the council scoff at the mention of the Yondaime while the clan heads glared at them. Not to change the subject, but I have a question for you, Jiraiya-san. What is to become of the position of Hokage? You are only temporary in terms of the position, Shibai said, because Jiraiya was needed elsewhere, and throughout the elemental countries. I'm going to find a proper replacement for the Sandaime because Sensei is clearly too old for the job, Jiraiya said, seeing Danzo scowl. Who? Why not just name Danzo? He was the Sandaime's rival after all, a civilian council member asked. Back when they were both young. If the Sandaime is too old to be Hokage, so is the cripple, and that is that, exclaimed Tsume, who had no love for the Sandaime because of how the old man let the village hurt Naruto, and even less for Danzo because of his warring ways with no regard for his subordinates. Damn you, Inuzuka, Danzo thought, making a mental note to cripple the Inuzuka clan when he became Hokage in the near future. Who do you have in mind, Jiraiya? Inoichi asked, as Jiraiya smirked at him. My old teammate Senju Tsunade, Jiraiya said, sending the councils into a frenzy until Naruto had had enough and swung his wrath hammer down on the meeting room table to silence them. The next one who speaks will face my wrath, exclaimed Naruto, seeing many people staring at the wrath hammer and sweating profusely. After all, they'd seen what it was capable of. Reminder to self, beg Uzumaki-san not to show that hammer to my wife. Also, ask him to refuse any request from my wife to make one for her, Shikaku reasoned, knowing that in the hands of his wife would spell doom for him and his son. Wow, that's huge, Tsume thought as he watched Naruto swing that heavy weapon around like it was nothing. If she was only a few years younger. Are you done here? I have things to do, Naruto asked, seeing as the councils wanted him to stay so they could yell some more. But Jiraiya simply nodded, knowing they would talk again without the idiots in the room. Jiraiya, you must do something to contain him or control him in some way to keep the demon from turning on us, Himura said, seeing Jiraiya scoff at them. Like what? You saw what he did at the Chunin exams. He killed the enemy shinobi that were invading left and right, not to mention he killed Orochimaru by devouring his soul. I like mine where it is, thank you very much, Jiraiya said, his voice tinged with humor. However, he is the village's weapon and must be controlled, that is his purpose, Danzo said, rolling his eyes, like Suna did with the Kasuke's youngest. They twisted that poor boy's mind like a whiny toy until he snapped and went insane. Jiraiya said, as Danzo shrugged. A weapon is a weapon, regardless of its lack of sanity, and the master is the one controlling the weapon. The Kasuke lacked proper control, and this is the end result, Danzo said casually. And you still wonder why Sensei's sensei didn't nominate you for Hokage, exclaimed Jiraiya before adjourning the meeting, forcing Danzo to swallow his pride. Is this information correct? Asked one figure among 8 others, addressing them as a leader should. Yes, Pain-sama. Uzumaki Naruto killed Orochimaru during the Sannin's failed attack on Konoha, and he apparently ripped out his soul, Itachi said, seeing some of the group members look concerned. How is that possible? You told me the boy had been neglected since birth. He should be weak like all Jinchuriki his age, Konan said, shaking Itachi's head. I don't know. Sabaku Nogara is the current Jinchuriki of the one-tailed Shukaku, and is considered the strongest in Suna outside of his father. He was injured by Naruto before Jiraiya of the Sannin took him down in his weakened condition to stabilize the seal. After that, Naruto apparently jumped into the heart of the fighting in the stadium, and then took down the barrier Orochimaru's bodyguards set up to trap the Sandaime Ho, regardless of how stained it was from the blood he had spilled. This has become problematic. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki is stronger than we ever imagined. We need to capture him now before it's too late. Itachi, you will go with Kasama and capture the vessel immediately, said Pain, before the two bowing and departing to complete their mission. How did this happen? Inquired the organization's sole female member. I don't know, Conan, but it needs to stop now before the boy becomes a threat to us and our plans, Pain simply stated, as the woman named Conan sighed. Jiraiya is going to find Tsunade-sama and is taking you with him. That's so unfair, exclaimed Tenten, who was on her way to see Naruto with Guy and Lee on crutches when they heard the news. Would you like to come along with us? Asked Naruto, while Tenten looked hopeful with stars in her eyes. Can I accompany you? Please, please, please. Tsunade-sama is my idol, and I aspire to be a strong kunoichi like her, Tenten said, bouncing around in front of him. Well, it couldn't hurt, could it, Guy-san? You are her sensei after all, Naruto said while Guy was thinking about it. Well, Guy said before seeing Tenten's murderous aura and her seemingly out of nowhere pulling out all sorts of weapons. Say yes or you'll die. Tenten reflected while the words were clear in her eyes. Of course, my student is meeting her idol after all, Guy said, backing up a few steps with a hearty yet nervous laugh. Why? Thank you, Guy-sensei, exclaimed Tenten as she transformed from potential murderous psychopath to the sweet lovable girl Guy knew, hugging him and skipping away while humming a tune. Guy-sensei ... What did I just witness? Asked Lee, as Naruto laughed and Guy looked nervously at his student. What you saw, my young student, is what happens when you don't make a woman with shinobi training happy for the briefest of moments until she gets what her heart desires, Guy explained, with Lee nodding and taking notes. I'll remember this, sensei, Lee said as Naruto shook his head at the two. Yes, please do write this down, Lee. It may save your life one day if you ever face such an event like this personally, Guy said knowingly, as if he were a teacher giving his student advice. Those two will die virgins, Naruto thought as he left them to their own devices. Are you looking for Senju Tsunade? Asked Kakashi, who had appeared casually by the corner of an alleyway. What business is it of yours, Haddock? Scowled Naruto as he looked at the Jounin. It's my business, Genin, because I'm your Jounin sensei, and I'm the one responsible for your well-being until you're promoted, so I need to know everything you do, Kakashi simply stated as Naruto scoffed. That, and you want to make sure she heals Sasuke's injuries I gave him, Naruto said, noting Kakashi's frown. That, too, when she returns here to become Hokage, I'm moving for your dismissal from the Shinobi program and bringing you up on charges, Kakashi said before walking away, his plan to further harm the boy in motion. If Naruto completed the mission completely, the Jounin would get what he desired, and the Jinchuriki would be expelled from the shinobi ranks while being imprisoned for his crimes. Naruto, on the other hand, could easily use this mission to flee Konoha and become a missing nin, with Kakashi volunteering to track him down. You think that scares me, Haddock, said Naruto, causing the Jounin to come to a halt. It should, Kakashi said simply as Naruto approached the man until they were face to face. It doesn't. The shackles you and the rest of the village have used no longer hold me. As I told you before, Haddock, the people in this village and the councils fear me now. Once you make your move, you will either bow before me or die, said Naruto as he walked past Kakashi with a sadistic grin on his face. We'll see, Kakashi thought as he saw Naruto walk away from him. I was hoping it would just be the two of us traveling together, Naruto. We have a lot of time to make up for because of the Sandaime's actions, Jiraiya said, seeing Tenten scowl at him. Let her come with us, Jiraiya, there's no harm in it, Naruto said casually, knowing that another set of eyes couldn't hurt in locating their target for this mission. I was hoping to train you in some of the skills your father had in his arsenal that I had taught him, Jiraiya explained simply. Like what exactly? Inquired Naruto. This, exclaimed Jiraiya as he formed a chakra orb in his hand. What is that? Tenten asked, seeing the thing manifest itself. It's the Rasengan. The Yondaime Hokage created this little number before teaching it to me. It took us both years to get down, Jiraiya said before wincing at the thought of addressing the boy's father by his title. Wait, you just called Naruto's father the Yondaime Hokage, but ... that would mean, said Tenten as she looked from Jiraiya to Naruto, back to Jiraiya, and finally at Naruto, who was amused by her actions. Nice going, big mouth, Naruto said, looking sheepishly at Jiraiya. Oops, exclaimed Jiraiya as Naruto sighed. Morund, exclaimed Naruto as he noticed Tenten getting ready to crash. You're the son of the Yondaime Hokage, exclaimed Tenten, shaking his finger at him. That's not really common knowledge, and I'd like to keep it that way for the time being, Jiraiya said, glad no one was listening in. Tenten simply exclaimed, oh, while looking sheepish. Come on, we have a Sannin to find. While we're traveling, I'll help you with your training, and Jiraiya can help with mine, Naruto said, seeing Tenten's excitement, though when she saw the cruel glint in his eyes it turned fearful. Isn't this going to be one of those painful training sessions? Tenten asked, while Naruto just laughed. Would you prefer something less difficult? Naruto asked, seeing Tenten's eyes flare with fire. Of course not. Tsunade-sama would face such a difficult training session head-on, and so will I. Tenten exclaimed with righteous rage, knowing that her idol would undergo any type of training to become stronger. Good to hear. Your first lesson for today is how to dodge quickly, said Naruto, whipping out a light spear and hurling it at Tenten, who barely avoided it. You jerk. Warn me next, exclaimed Tenten before dodging another spear, each one nearly hitting her. Do you think your enemy will warn you? He or she will not show you mercy. This is the way of the world, said Naruto, throwing more spears at Tenten, who was doing everything in her power to avoid them. Good thing I'm the one training him and not the other way around, Jiraiya thought as he noticed Naruto's method of training the girl. It was going to be a long journey. The boy is growing too powerful, and you must allow me to stop him, Raiden begged the other elder gods. No, you will not, yelled the elder gods, tired of hearing this from their fellow elder god and his attempts to overthrow their laws. The boy will cause chaos, destruction, and violence to Earthrealm, just as Shao Kahn did. He is the Emperor's legacy, Raiden exclaimed as the elder gods stared at him with smoldering eyes. You made the boy a citizen of Earthrealm by taking Shao Kahn's progeny from Outworld, and he had children of his own. You made this happen, Raiden, and we are well aware of your influence on those around the boy when he was growing up to ensure his stunted growth. You have done enough to him, Raiden. You can only interfere in the lives of mortals so much before reaching a limit to your right to interfere, and you have reached that limit. And if the boy does something that endangers the realms, Raiden asked after a brief pause, if Uzumaki Naruto threatens to destabilize the realms, we will intervene to prevent it and order him to stop his actions before they cause disaster. Until then, we can do nothing but watch his progress, said another elder god with an ethereal male body resembling a Viking warrior. The moment that boy steps out of line, I'll end him, Raiden thought before disappearing in a flash of lightning. You're a jerk. Tenten scowled at him as she was bandaged up. Please, you had it easy compared to what I had to go through to get to where I am now while studying for the Chunin exams. You're such a quick baby, Naruto said as he sat in a chair next to her bed while Jiraiya went about gathering information on where Tsunade might be hiding. And by gathering information, Jiraiya meant spying in bathhouses, hitting on women in various red light districts, and so on. I believe it because you have the muscle that beat Neji in the Chunin exams to within an inch of his life, Tenten said, blushing as he looked at his semi-exposed torso with all that muscle mass behind it. How about your teammate? When Tenten shrugged, Naruto said, I'm still Neji, though I think the whole fate has declared me the winner thing is out of his system, Tenten said, seeing Naruto smile at the memory. Good, I don't think I can get away with beating him a second time with that level of brutality. Naruto laughed, and Tenten joined in. A knock on the door cut them off. Uzumaki Naruto, said the shorter of the two people standing outside the room Naruto was in with Tenten, in hushed tones. It depends on who asks, Naruto said, seeing the taller one with blue skin smirk. The Akatsuki, the shorter of the two men, said. Never heard of you, Naruto said, slightly frowning but clearly not at his words. Naruto looked more like what he expected to see. You must accompany us. Peacefully, said the shorter man, though his taller companion clearly hoped against it. Come on, Itachi, the guys aren't going quietly or peacefully with us. On him, I smell blood. He's similar to me. He's a savage, said the tall man holding the bandaged sword. It's too bad we're not in Outworld. The Emperor would have loved to have an agent like you on his side, Naruto said, as the blue-skinned man frowned in confusion. Huh? Sighed the man with the shorter one named Itachi. Enough with Kisame. Naruto will accompany you. This is not negotiable, Itachi stated before shifting his gaze slightly to the left in response to Tenten's kunai thrown from behind Naruto. It certainly isn't, Tenten said as she saw Itachi look beyond Naruto to see the girl get out of bed and now holding a sword. How should we proceed, Itachi? Name them both and then take the Kyuubi Jinchuriki in the aftermath, said Kasama, his partner remaining silent on the subject. I have a third option, Naruto said, drawing their attention. What about a third option? Itachi said, raising an eyebrow. Yeah, you and your butt buddy get out of my way before I shove his sword up your ass, Naruto said as he shut the door in front of them. Did he just say? Kasama said, looking at Itachi, who nodded and sighed. He did, indeed. We must now do things the hard way, Itachi said simply because he knew it would involve violence. Not at all. He referred to us as butt buddies, as if we're gay. I am not a lesbian. Kasama yelled angrily before kicking down the door and was met with a light spear to the gut. Your attire says otherwise, Naruto said with a grin. Gaki, you're so dead, Kasama said as he broke the light spear and watched the rest of it dissolve before charging at Naruto with Simhata slightly unwrapped. Naruto grinned as he dodged the man's sword swings, materialized his wrath hammer, and hit Kasama in the face with it, sending the former Miss Shinobi flying back out of the room and hitting the wall with a thud before spitting out some blood with a mix of some teeth. Tenten herself was on the defensive against Itachi, with a sword in one hand and several kunai ready to be thrown. You'll have to outrun that fishy-chan, says Naruto, covering Tenten's flank so Kasama can't get to her. In rage, Kasama began locking weapons with the Uzumaki and was surprised the kid was matching him in strength. It just wasn't possible. Flashing with the wrath hammer several times, Kasama swung horizontally, but Naruto leaped to avoid the move, then used the opening to hit missing Nin with charging spikes that slammed the man hard against the wall. His power has a trace of Kyubai's chakra, but this power coats his body for an instant. And even then, it's not all Kyuubi, it's something else. Something that makes the hairs on the back of my head stand on end, Itachi thought as he watched Naruto prepare to strike down Kasama with his mighty weapon. Had Jiraiya not interrupted with a silly dance and declared that no woman under Genjutsu could fool him. Kasama swung Samehada and hit Naruto's side, sending the boy flying through a wall. Tenten turned to see her flank exposed to the former swordsman of the mist, and her only hope now was Jiraiya doing something to scare them away. Kasama, we need to get moving. Now, Itachi said, seeing Kasama cause his body to crack in several places. What? Why? We can fight the girl, and I just smashed the Kyuubi Jinchuriki through the wall, Kasama said as Itachi sighed as his patience was tested. Jiraiya is more powerful than either of us, Kasama, and the Kyuubi Jinchuriki is not so easily defeated with one swing of a sword, Itachi said, seeing Kasama roll out of the way of Naruto's wrath hammer. Is that all you have? With fire in his eyes, Naruto walked back into the fight, despite the fact that the wound he received had already healed. Run, Itachi said as he leapt over Tenten and ran with Kasama while Jiraiya used a jutsu that transformed the entire corridor into a giant toad's stomach. Jiraiya apparently had suspicions based on what Naruto could see of the dark flame left behind. As the Sannin sealed it away, the Kunoichi of the group was looking at Naruto and piecing together what she had just experienced in this fight. Naruto was a Kyuubi Jinchuriki, a human sacrifice. She remembered his birthday being on the day of the Kyuubi festival, when many people were out with various objects meant to hurt someone if not used carefully, or in Naruto's case, could hurt someone if used carefully, and on him for what he held. Kyuubi. During the battle, they referred to you as the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. That implies you carry the Kyuubi no Kitsune within your body, doesn't it? Tenten said, seeing Naruto look at her for a moment. I did, Naruto said, seeing Tenten's puzzled expression. What exactly do you mean by I did? Are you saying Kyuubi escaped somehow? Tenten said, seeing Naruto chuckle at her now slightly worried expression. No, I have joined forces with Kyuubi. It happened while I was away from Konoha training for the Chunin exams. His knowledge, power, and pretty much everything else about the fox is now mine to command, Naruto said, seeing Tenten's eyes bug out of her sockets. Really? Wow. That is simply ... wow. Saw all the stories about Kyuubi practically being power incarnate, and here was the person holding all of it inside his very body, Tenten said. Yeah, isn't it difficult to believe, said Naruto, with Tenten nodding in agreement because it was difficult to believe. We have to get moving. They may have fled, but that doesn't mean they won't return. With Tsunade on our side, they won't dare to move, and would need reinforcements to even try, Jiraiya said, as Naruto narrowed his eyes and slammed the Sannin against the wall. And how did you find out about Jiraiya? You weren't surprised to see them when they came to get me. When I mentioned I was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki in front of Tenten, you didn't even react. Why is this the case? Naruto said as Jiraiya struggled to break free from his iron grip. When I wasn't tracking Orochimaru, I was tracking the Akatsuki, and their interest in Jinchuriki was sealed. It's not easy to get into their organization, and I told Sensei everything I knew about them. I told him you needed to train hard in all aspects of being a shinobi, and he said you were. That you were making great strides in your training, so there was no need to worry, Jiraiya said before Naruto let the man go after a few long seconds. In other words, don't look into me personally and catch the Sandaime in a lie, Naruto said, his rage now directed at the old man. Pretty much, Jiraiya said as Naruto prepared to smash something. Do you know where I can find Tsunade? When Naruto saw Jiraiya nod, he knew he had the information he needed to find her. Yeah, a city northeast of here, but it's near the border of Fire Country, and if we spook her, she'll flee. The Sandaime has tried for years to recall Tsunade, and she, well, ignored him. Jiraiya said, seeing Naruto's eyes narrow with a question about the woman in his head. If you're my godfather, does that make her my godmother ... and does she know anything about me? When Naruto noticed Jiraiya's grimace, he said, I really don't know. She treated your mother as if she were a daughter, but I don't think she'd hate you. If anything, her presence in Konoha would have persuaded her to stay, and since the Sandaime lied to me, Jiraiya said, seeing the warlord in training nod, then he most likely lied to her as well. We'll find out soon enough, Naruto said, as he beat the old man deeper into the grave he was already in, and placed a blood-stained tombstone with the words traitor on it, written beneath his name. We've arrived. Isn't it a lovely city? Jiraiya said as they walked down the streets to the various bars because he knew Tsunade's habits were to gamble during the day and drink into the night with a hangover in the morning. If you say so, Naruto said, looking around for the bar Tsunade was currently in order to drown her worries. What makes Tsunade come here? Tenten was perplexed. She has a gambling problem. When Tsunade loses a large bet, she tends to go to the bars and drink herself stupid, said Jiraiya, only to be hit in the head with a club by Tenten. You filthy pervert, how dare you say such things about Tsunade-sama? Tenten said with female rage in her eyes as Jiraiya massaged the massive lump on the back of his head. Damn troublesome women, always hitting me for whatever I say, no matter what, thought Jiraiya as Naruto laughed. She's like this. I sense her power, Naruto said before proceeding to where he was certain Tsunade was. They entered a bar to find a blonde, big-breasted woman drinking sake with another woman holding a well-pampered pig. And it was clear she wasn't in a friendly mood. But Naruto didn't care because he had a job to do and it needed to be done now. Tsunade Heim. Shizyun. Jiraiya said loudly as he walked over to her with a smile on his face. Jiraiya, what in the world has brought you here? Tsunade said as she noticed the man sit across from her, and he was soon joined by the others. The woman beside Tsunade couldn't help but blush at the sight of Naruto's muscled body before her, and had to look away quickly. Naruto smirked slightly in his mind, which had a slight perverted streak to it, enjoyed the sight of the woman falling slowly under his spell, and knew this one was shy, no doubt being shielded by Tsuna. You recognize me, Tsunade? I'm traveling and doing my usual thing, Jiraiya explained before Naruto smacked him on the back of the head. Stop acting like a fool and tell her already, Naruto said impatiently to Sannin. Can you tell me what? Tsunade felt a chill run up her spine as she saw Naruto. Orochimaru invaded the village and attempted to assassinate the Sandaime. The old man has survived, but he is too old to lead Konoha, and the village needs you to return. We need you to become Gandaime Hokage of Konoha, Jiraiya said, while Tsunade looked at him for a moment before laughing mockingly. Hokage? Why would I want to be the Leaf's Hokage? Being Hokage and ending lives is a fool's dream, said Tsunade, while Jiraiya frowned and Tenten looked as if she'd just been told Santa Claus wasn't real. Tsunade-sama. Tenten couldn't believe her idol had just admitted such a thing about the title of Hokage, and to some extent, Konoha itself, she said. I'm sorry to hear you say that, Tsunade, Jiraiya said, seeing the bitter look in that woman's eyes. People change with time, Jiraiya. The same goes for losing them. My grandfather, granduncle, Dan, Nowaki, and the Yondaime all sacrificed their lives to fulfill the dream of becoming Hokage. The only one left is the Sandaime, and he's getting on in years according to you, Tsunade said, his eyes narrowing at her. What makes you think the old man will live beyond the next few weeks? Said Naruto, as Tsunade looked at him suspiciously. And what exactly are you implying, Gaki? Tsunade said as Naruto grinned predatorily at her. I'm implying that whether you accept or reject the position of Hokage, the Sandaime will die at my hands. That your belief in the title of Hokage is irrelevant to me. Besides, you're not deserving of the title in the first place. I detect fear in you. Senju Tsunade is afraid to return to Konoha and fill her grandfather's shoes. I don't see a great woman Jiraiya speaks so highly of, or an idol that this Leaf Kunoichi would have defended until now. In the body of an elderly woman, I see a terrified child. To think that Konoha's people want you to be their Hokage. Please don't make me laugh, said Naruto as Tsunade rose from her seated position and punched Naruto in the helmeted skull, sending him flying through the bar's wall into the next building. Alright, I won't make you laugh. I'll just make you scream in agony, Tsunade said, having had enough of him. Tsunade ... You shouldn't have done that, Jiraiya said before being grabbed by Tsunade and forced to face the glaring woman who was now less than an inch away from his face. And can you give me one good reason why? Tsunade sighed, and Jiraiya followed suit. Because Tsunade ... you just hit Uzumaki Naruto. Jiraiya said, "You're Godson," as Tsunade's eyes widened in disbelief and she looked where she sent the kid flying and rushed out of the bar, only to have Naruto appear in front of her in a shadowed flash of red and land a right hand to the woman's face, sending the Sannin flying back into the bar to the very table she had left. Looking up, Tsunade was shocked that Naruto hit her with such strength, but the speed with which he did it, and the fact that he did it at all. "I owe you many things for abandoning me to go drinking and gambling," said Naruto, punching his palm in front of her, his eyes smoldering with rage. "Have you been abandoned? What are you on about? The Sandaime informed me that you had died. He claimed that the chakra of the Kyuubi overloaded your body. Only a pure-blooded Uzumaki could have contained its chakra without succumbing to death," Tsunade said, as she felt the bruise on her face form, "and damn did it hurt. And you trusted him. You didn't ask to see a body, did you?" Jiraiya said, seeing Tsunade turn away. "I was heartbroken. I'd already seen Kushina's body, as well as the bodies of the other people I'd lost over the years. I didn't have the courage to look at a child's burned corpse that belonged to her," Tsunade explained, with Naruto looking enraged. "Oh, that old man. I should have, and I intend to rip out his soul as I did Orochimaru's," Naruto said as his body was consumed by a blood-red aura. "What's going on, Jiraiya? What happened to change my godson?" Tsunade said, watching Naruto's power consume the bar and scare everyone inside. "A lot," Jiraiya said as he watched Naruto use his incredible power to cause damage to something. "Tsunade Senju, I hereby issue you a Mortal Kombat challenge," exclaimed Naruto, his mind lost in his rage before pointing at Tsunade, who looked shocked at his declared challenge. "Whoa, you're going a little too far, Naruto. Calm down, people," Jiraiya said as Naruto's bloodlust-filled eyes turned to him. "Would you like to fight me as well, Jiraiya?" "Fine, you can assist Tsunade in her fight. It's obvious she needs help. Being weak and all," Naruto said, seeing Tsunade's rage. "Weak? After I shove my foot up your ass, I'll show you how weak you are." Tsunade rose from the ground, ready to strike him. "Fight," yelled Naruto, a feral grin on his face. "Shit," muttered Jiraiya as he leaped into the fight, ignoring the bartender telling them to leave and the people fleeing the ensuing brawl. Tenten could only watch in awe and fear as these three battled. Naruto may have been outnumbered, but his power more than compensated, and neither Sannin was able to handle him alone. When the two used teamwork, they were able to push Naruto back, but the moment the Uzumaki brought out the Wrath Hammer ... things got destroyed, and quite a bit of damage was caused. "Is that all you have?" cried Naruto before forming a light spear and hurling it at Tsunade, who dodged it. "Damn, this Gaki is a difficult customer. It's no surprise he killed Orochimaru. What caused this to happen?" When Tsunade saw Naruto grinning at her, she began to form what she knew only Jiraiya could make since the Yondaime's death. "Rasengan, the Rasengan. Do you like it? Jiraiya showed it to me a few days ago while traveling to find you, and I've been training to master it ever since," said Naruto, holding a crude form of the Rasengan in his hand. But it was slightly unstable, which Tsunade noticed. "And you still have a ways to go," exclaimed Tsunade, slamming the ground and causing the Rasengan in Naruto's hand to explode, sending him flying back onto the ground. Tsunade leapt into the air and stomped on him with enough force to create a crater. "Tsunade, stop. Remember, he's your godson," exclaimed Jiraiya, wincing as the kid's wrath hammer struck the right side of his ribs. "I know, Jiraiya. That's why I don't rip out his throat," Tsunade said, while Naruto laughed despite his position. "It appears you aren't weak after all," Naruto said before headbutting the woman off his body and slowly getting off the ground with his Hao power receding. "Oh, that hurt, you big dumb bastard," screamed Tsunade, rubbing her brow. "So is it you leaping into the air and then landing on me with your super strength, you big-breasted bitch?" Naruto countered, Tsunade scowling at him. "What exactly did you say?" Tsunade jumped to the ground and had to be restrained by Shizune. "Tsunade-sama, no more, please. You've done enough damage to the area, and we'll have to pay the bar's damages if we don't leave," Shizune said, seeing Tsunade look at the destroyed building and cursing knowing it was true. "Fine, but it's not over yet," Tsunade said, seeing Naruto dust himself off and laugh. "You keep telling yourself that," Naruto said as he walked away from them. "Wait, I have a proposition for you," Tsunade interrupted the future warlord and emperor of Earthrealm. "Exactly what?" said Naruto, perplexed. "This is Rasengan. You haven't mastered it yet, Tsunade said, while Naruto looked at her with a slight annoyance on his face. That doesn't mean I won't in the future. What exactly is your point? Naruto said, turning to face her. I'm willing to bet you can't finish in a week what Jiraiya and the Yondaime took years to create. If I win, I don't have to return to Konoha, and I can stay away from it for as long as I want, Tsunade said, with Naruto now showing interest in her challenge. And what if I win? I saw Tsunade grab a necklace with a green gem of some sort that was around her neck, Naruto said. I'll return to Konoha with you to be the new Hokage, and I'll give you this, the necklace of Shadaime. The necklace belonged to my grandfather. This gem is worth enough to buy 3 entire mountains. Win the bet ... and it's yours, Tsunade said, as Naruto pondered. While the gem would be interesting to have in my possession, I need something ... more. And something I can enjoy outside of jewelry regardless of its supposed value, Naruto said, his eyes flashing red for a second at Shizune. Oh no, Shizune is not being given to you as a prize, Tsunade said, seeing Shizune look surprised and concerned that Naruto might want her. It's either that or I walk away, eventually tracking you down for another fight to return you to the village. I don't care if I have to drag your drunk ass back to Konoha kicking and screaming by your hair, Naruto said, seeing the woman become enraged by his ultimatum. Why, you tiny, said an enraged Tsunade as Shizune and now Jiraiya restrained her. What's the matter? You're so sure I'll lose. Accept the bet or prepare for another beating without Jiraiya's assistance, said Naruto as he manifested his wrath hammer in his hand, Tsunade calculating the odds of him succeeding in her head. I agree, Tsunade said, Shizune and Tenten looking horrified at her for making the wager. You can't, Tsunade-sama. Do I not have a say in this? Shizune yelled, the two now staring at her. No, yelled Naruto and Tsunade simultaneously. But he's ... only he's 12, Shizune said as Naruto laughed, making her jump slightly. Do I physically resemble a 12-year-old to you? Said Naruto as Shizune examined his body and blushed in realization of what she had just done. That is not a 12-year body, old Shizune thought as she noticed Naruto's eyes on her and felt his presence was overpowering. I'll see you in a week. Don't leave town or I'll be very angry, Naruto said to the Uzumaki, leaving Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Shizune to talk while Tenten followed. Naruto, how can you place such a wager? Tenten said, seeing Naruto look over at her. Because it's in her blood. Tenten, she has a gambling habit, or have you been paying attention to Jiraiya when he talks about her? Said Naruto, as Tenten moved in front of him, glaring. I'm not interested. Tsunade-sama isn't what I expected her to be when we first met. What I'm curious about is why you changed your bet, Naruto. What you're asking of Tsunade and Shizune is insidious, Tenten said, while Naruto just shrugged. What if it is? You think I'm the only person in the world who would wager on another human life? Women and men are constantly auctioned off in the slave trade. Slaves are constantly used as currency in wagers. Tenten is kept by the winners, while the losers weep. And don't say women don't participate in the slave trade or have men as slaves, Naruto said as Tenten tried to rebuke him, but saw no way around the truth and sighed. It's still perverse, said Tenten with Naruto walking around her. Would we be having this conversation if you had a male slave? Said Naruto, Tenten's face flushed with rage at the prospect of having a male slave to do her bidding. Then again ... it all depends on how just powerful my slave is and how cute he is when I make him mine. Huh? Wait, what? Why did I think that? Damn you Naruto, you are corrupting me, Tenten thought, shaking her head. I love corrupting people to my side, just like my forefather in Outworld, Naruto thought as he noticed Tenten shaking her head. So he's not only the sage of 6 paths long line descendant, but also an emperor from another realm called Outworld. I find it difficult to believe, Tsunade said, from what Naruto told me during the meeting he had with the other Konoha governing bodies in the room. Shizune, I believe him. According to what has been said about the Gaki's entrance into the Chunin exams, he appeared through some kind of portal, and his attire is similar to that of his forefather, an emperor named Shao Kahn. The man used some kind of magic on the kid's seal to combine Kyuubi and Naruto while putting the boy through the grinder for the entire month of training. When Jiraiya saw Tsunade's eyes widen, he became concerned, and Shizune became concerned when he saw the Sannin stiffen. What do you mean? What's the problem? Why are you suddenly terrified, Tsunade-sama? Shizune said, seeing Jiraiya chuckle. Because Naruto is still young and could fight the two of us on equal ground. He's only 12 years old and isn't even fully grown. Imagine how he'll look when the kid is a fully grown mature adult. Jiraiya said, with Shizune projecting the image of a taller, muscular, and physically dominant figure. Oh, Kami. Shizune realized Naruto had yet to reach his limits, if there were any limits at all, and there was no telling when that would happen. The kid will be virtually unstoppable, Tsunade concluded. The kid is already unstoppable. I'm not sure what the Gaki's future plans are, but something tells me they go beyond the desire to be Hokage, and his life goal is to strike it rich. Jiraiya knew the kid would never consider becoming Hokage, and even if he did it would be a very violent transition. So why put it on me? Why not give it to the kid right now? Let Naruto rule the damn village now that he's won, Tsunade said, with Jiraiya shrugging. Because Naruto will not accept the title of Hokage. Like I said before, Tsunade. He has his sights set on something bigger, grander, and more prestige in mind for someone of his power, Jiraiya explains while giving Tsunade a knowing look to connect the dots in terms of what Naruto desired. No, does he really want to be emperor? In the same way that Shao Kahn is in Outworld. Tsunade was taken aback when he saw Jiraiya nod. Yeah, why govern a village when you can govern the entire world? Jiraiya sighed and took a sip of the drink from a small drinking stand. I see, Tsunade said, because she would probably think the title of Hokage was pointless if the power Naruto possessed was her own, and she wanted to do more than sit in an office pushing paperwork. How are you going to handle the bet? The kid has enormous potential. I'd be worried if I were you, Tsunade, Jiraiya warned, his gaze shifting from Tsunade to Shizune, who was fidgeting nervously, fearful that the slug princess would lose another bet. Again, for what it's worth, Shizune, I'm sorry I put you in this situation and even more sorry if I lose the bet, Tsunade said, with Shizune nodding and a gut feeling that the bet had already been lost. Naruto himself was meditating in a nice secluded spot where he felt would help him focus his energies that raged within his body in order to complete the bet made with Tsunade. The Rasengan was not easy to make, maintain, and then use in that order. It took a certain level of power, control of it, and the means to stabilize the orb long enough to unleash the energy. He'd have to wait. Be patient. Naruto was growing stronger by the day. His enemies were becoming overconfident, and the bars that were Konoha's walls were rotting. It would be at least a few more years before his conquest could begin, and only after he'd gained enough followers to his cause. It's been a long time. Thunder God, Naruto said, feeling Raiden's presence behind him, only 10 feet away, and feeling the Elder God's rage directed at the Earthrealm version of Shao Kahn. The last time I stood before you at this range, the fox was sealed inside your body, and I was talking with the Sandaime Hokage, Raiden explained, knowing that any attack on the boy would result in the Elder Gods attacking him. I know, Shao Kahn noticed the memory and told me about your little plan you devised with him to turn me into the village's pet. Though that was only a minor part of the plan because you wanted me to be a slave to your own machinations despite the fact that I was the child of prophecy. I was outside of your direct control. Your very presence, so you had others under your influence use theirs on me to be an extension of themselves and yours as well, should you ever need their assistance. I'm right so far, said Naruto, his gaze narrowed at Raiden. The Earthrealm must be shielded from outside forces. Even if the Elder Gods declare that no one may attack the realms without their permission, someone or something will try. You are going to be a deterrent to such adversaries. You are the very thing I have deemed a threat to this realm, Raiden said, as Naruto laughed at him. Aside from Shao Kahn's return, I am your greatest fear. It makes no difference. You have no power over me, Elder God. Leave me alone. I need to practice using my new technique, Naruto said, waving him off as Raiden looked at him angrily. You're so arrogant. Exactly like Shao Kahn, Raiden exclaimed, lightning flashing around his body. Leave me alone, Raiden ... or I will make you, Naruto said, ignoring Raiden. That sounded like a test, boy. Do you want to play Mortal Kombat with me? Raiden knew that once the boy issued the challenge, he would be free to attack and destroy Naruto. No, not right now. No, not yet. Raiden, I understand what you're attempting to accomplish. I can see and hear the desire to fight me without facing the other Elder Gods in your eyes and voice. That will not happen until the time is right, Naruto said before rising from the ground and walking away from the stunned Raiden. Fight me now, coward, Raiden yelled impatiently, charging his hand with lightning and preparing to attack. You'd shoot me in the back with lightning. Lord Raiden, I thought you were honorable. Do you really think you've changed after all these years? Naruto said, looking back and grinning at the enraged Elder God. I will not be merciful to you. I will stop you here for the sake of Earthrealm, and face the Elder God's judgment in the end, Raiden said, as Naruto narrowed his eyes at him. I see. So, give me the opportunity to ... make the first move, said Naruto as he vanished from Raiden's sight, and the Elder God felt an energy orb enter his stomach. Rasengan is the Rasengan. The attack sent the shocked Elder God flying back and he looked at Naruto with anger in his eyes before shooting lightning at the boy. The attack sent the boy back and he was crouching slightly to endure Raiden's lightning before jumping into the air with the Wrath Hammer in his hands. Raiden teleported away, a few feet behind Naruto, and shot out lightning from his hands yet again. However, before things could get any worse, golden lightning fell from the sky, and 5 golden dragons surrounded Naruto and Raiden while they awaited their judgment. The group of Jiraiya, Tsunade, Tenten, and Shizune appeared to see this with shocked eyes. You've broken our orders yet again, Raiden. With your actions, you endanger the entire Earthrealm, said the Elder Gods all at once. This boy is a threat to the realms. Surely you see it as I do. Shao Kahn is a threat we can handle should he invade, said Raiden in an attempt to plead his case. Silence. Not only do you risk unleashing Shao Kahn on Earthrealm, but also the other forces lurking in the shadows of the various realms, waiting for the day when they can attack without our intervention. If you had continued, all of the rules we put in place to keep the realms from destabilizing would have been broken, and Armageddon would have occurred. The Elder Gods were enraged as Raiden turned away from them, and this boy ruling all of Earthrealm in place of Shao Kahn would be better, challenged Raiden as he noticed the Elder Gods looking at him solemnly. If only dragons could appear solemn. Unfortunately, Earthrealm would be better off under his rule. We find the realms would be stable, and any threat would be decisively put down by Naruto if such an event occurred, the Elder God said, seeing Raiden's look of disbelief on his face. I don't think so. I saw the dragons around me scowling, Raiden said. Regardless of what you believe in this matter, Raiden, we will not allow you to continue defying us, and we will not punish you this time because Naruto attacked first. The boy, on the other hand, will not be punished because you provoked him in this fight and he has not broken any of our rules. Do not make such an attempt again, or we will not be so forgiving the next time, yelled the Elder Gods as they flew away. This is not over, Naruto, Raiden said before disappearing in a flash of lightning. No, not by any means. Lord Raiden, we will meet again and fight in mortal combat, as you requested. Only when we do ... will we be on equal footing, Naruto said, knowing he was not strong enough to fight an Elder God. No, not yet, Naruto, cried Tsunade as she approached him, about to hit the Gaki for causing her concern, when he showed her the fully formed Rasengan in his right hand. I win the wager, Tsunade. You know what that means, Naruto said with a grin. Tsunade slumped in defeat, Shizune blushing with embarrassment, and Tenten red in the face with rage. When Jiraiya acted perverted, he was caught between being perverted and being cautious around the women around him. Oh no, take the damn thing, Tsunade said as she tossed him the necklace, which he easily caught. To think something so small had such value, Naruto said as he wrapped it around his neck and looked at Shizune, his gaze wandering over her body. Shizune walked over to him, thinking, oh Kami, he's practically eye-humping me. Tsunade looked away after tossing the necklace, and Tenten appeared to want to launch a barrage of weapons at Naruto. Don't worry, my dear. The fun won't begin until we return to Konoha, Naruto said, kissing her hand and sending some of his power through the woman's body to the brain, where it might sway her to see things his way from now on. I understand, and Naruto-sama. Shizune blushed, while Naruto laughed at how shy she was right now. It made him think of Hyuga Hinata. Must not kill, must not kill, must not kill. Tenten and Tsunade both thought at the same time, but for different reasons. Alright, let's go. I have an old fool's grave to fill in when we get back to Konoha, Naruto said as he walked with Shizune beside him and Tenten following with narrowed eyes at the two. Fucking perverted jerk, exclaimed Tenten, despite the fact that she was feeling a little jealous right now. Come on, you old scumbag. It's time to go back home and fix what's broken, Tsunade said, knowing this was going to be fun. Jiraiya grumbled and followed them, muttering about not being respected.
So this was it for today. I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.